Hello fellow journey runners. I don't know about you, but winter training is one of the hardest seasons for me to train in. I just don't like the winter. So, what I've decided is to do a mini series, what I'm calling the winter series. It's going to be 4 parts, and we're going to walk through how we can still get the most out of our winters and still train at our full potential. So if you're ready, let's get started. Hi, my name is Angelo, and this channel is dedicated to getting those who want to get started in running or those who want to take their running to the next level. If you want to see the tips in this episode and my other episodes being implemented in my own personal journey, you can follow me on Facebook or Instagram. Okay, 4 episodes. We're going to go over 4 main topics that I believe will help you get through the winter weather and still be able to train at full capacity. So the things we'll be covering is our equipment from head to toe. We're going to be talking about in episode 2 the ways to run up and down hills in the snow. In episode 3, I'm going to show you how to put a track in your own backyard or even in your area so that if it's covered in snow or you just don't have access to one, how do we get one so we can still do speed training? In episode 4, we will be talking about how do we stay motivated in this very cold weather when it's not easy to go out there and we'd rather probably be sitting on the couch under a blanket. As I mentioned, in episode 1, which is this episode, we'll be talking about equipment from head to toe. To start off, we're going to protect our heads from the cold. So in order to do that, you can use a sports running hat or a sports hat. It doesn't really matter. The purpose of these are just to cover your ears and not so much protect the face. So as you can see, it covers my ears. You can use any hat for that matter. The important part is just to use a hat that protects your ears. If it's a little bit colder, then I have these face masks that can cover the face and cover the head, so all I have exposed is really my nose and my eyes. And if it gets hot, you can put it down like this or even lift it up like this. And pretty much these are very flexible. This is a loose one. I also have a tight fitting one, which is really good. And if it's really cold, I will put this type of mask, the tight one, first, and then I will layer this on top if it's really, really cold. But really, that's all you need for protecting your head is those 3 types of hats. For my hands, I use 2 types of gloves, or 3 types actually, and mainly based on the weaving pattern. So here you can see a close-up of this glove here in the pattern versus this glove here, that pattern. You can see that this one actually had a looser weave compared to this one here. And this glove not only has a tighter weave, but it also is form-fitting to your hand. So I will use them interchangeably. I find that these type, the looser the knitting, then the wetter it feels as I'm running. So I like to wear these, but the other thing is that I have a thing with my hands that as you can see, these are very tight fitting. I don't like my hands being covered, so this gets a little bit claustrophobic for me. Not sure if any of you have that, but I like to wear these, but if it's really, really cold, you can actually layer them, and this is really nice because this one will soak up the water a little bit and taking it off the lower one, and if it's really cold, and then if it gets a little warm, you can take them off and then use this one. Another neat trick is, because I have this thing about my hands when I'm running, to add a little freshness, fresh air to it. If you're running, if you separate your fingers like that a little bit, the air will come through it and flow through, which kind of gives it a cooling sensation, or almost makes it feel like you don't have gloves on. If you like the tips that you're hearing so far, please make sure to hit the like button below. For our upper body, there are usually 6 garments that I wear. One is a t-shirt that has wicking capabilities, and pretty much what it does is, when you wear it, it takes the water or the sweat from your skin and pushes it to the outer level. So I usually have a short sleeve and a long sleeve. You may know them as dry fit if you wear Nike. Cool Climate is some of the other names that they have for it, but you're looking for wicking material. The second type of wicking material I have is this thick long sleeve shirt, and again, it takes the sweat from the body and moves it to the surface. And this one's not only thick, but it's tight fitting to the body. The colder it is, the more material I like to be adhered to my body. So this one is when it's really getting cold out there. I also use 100% cotton, and I'll use either a long sleeve shirt or a short sleeve shirt. But the difference between the wicking material and the cotton, if you're not familiar with them, is that the cotton actually holds the sweat and moisture while you're running. But I tend to find these to warm me up quicker, to be honest, and I kind of like the water to be sucked off even the dry fit clothing. So typically what I do is I'll put dry fit on first so that the sweat moves to the surface, and then use these to suck them up, suck that sweat off the dry fit, really keeping my body nice and dry. And the other thing that I like to do is layer, and when I'm layering, I will always go dry fit, then cotton, and if I have to, I will go long sleeve to then short sleeve, unless it's the other way around. I will always go dry fit. So if I wanted to wear this wicking material short sleeve but use a cotton out sleeve, even though this is long sleeve and this is short sleeve, I'll put the short sleeve on because I want that to get absorbed by the long sleeve shirt. For windy days, I use a wind jacket. Where I live, it's pretty windy, so I'm always wearing a wind jacket, especially during the winter. So I will put that always on top, or the last layer, compared to the other shirts, and that just gives me an extra layer of warmth, as well as cuts down on the wind that's coming at me. For the lower region, there are 4 fabrics that I wear, or 4 types of clothing that I wear. One is boxer briefs, very close to my body. I also carry around a pair of shorts, as well as long sweatpants, and those work pretty much for everything. In any order that you want. I find that my legs are pretty resilient to the cold, so I don't really need to start wearing pants or anything like that until probably around 40 to 30 degrees Fahrenheit. But on those really, really cold days, I like this material here. It's made to keep in the heat or keep in the coolness depending on the weather. I only wear these during the winter, so you can go to any local running store or big chain store and look for something that's very tight fitting, and I will put these over my boxer briefs, as well as put some shorts on top of these, especially if it's windy. this will help protect. It gives that extra level of protection while you're running. So yeah, just those 4 garments, this one being my ultimate go-to when it's really, really cold. I'll put on all 4 layers. I'll put the boxer briefs, put these on top of the boxer briefs, and then on top of that I'll put shorts, and then finally I will put on sweatpants if it's really, really cold. So that's it for lower body. If you like this channel, please make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notifications so when I make the next video, you'll know that it's there right away. For socks, I keep it simple, but the technology has come along so far these days when it comes to socks. I always still use the cotton, 100% cotton socks. I use these for anything when I'm running anything lower than 1 hour or less. If I'm running longer than an hour, I will move to these special running socks, and you can get these again at a local running store. And they're made for running or hiking, and they're protective, and you can get different thicknesses, so depending on the weather. So you could end up, for the winter, really using a good thick pair depending on how warm you like your feet. To me, I don't know what's worse than having numb toes when I'm running. So for the most part, again, an hour or less, I'll use this. If it's super, super cold, I will always lean towards these because this is very thick. The other thing that you want to note for your feet is blistering. In my area, when it's really cold out, the weather tends to be really dry. So I like to put lotion on my feet to keep them moist, because if they get dry and you're wearing socks, they will actually rub a lot easier against your socks, which then creates blisters. So to avoid that, especially during the winter in my area, I'm always lotioning my feet to prevent blistering. The cool thing that I got last year as a Christmas present were these spikes. And what you do is you slide your shoe into this and it locks onto your shoe. There's some grips right there, and what they'll do is they'll hold on to the bottom of your shoe. And on the other side there are these spikes, and you can get longer spikes depending on where you are. But when I am doing workouts, speed workouts, maybe a tempo run in the winter, if I can't avoid the snow and I really want to get one in, these actually do help. It's not so good when there's cement and snow, because once you hit the cement, it becomes a little bit slippery. Work great. It helps me do my tempo runs when there's a nice layer of snow, not that thick snow that when you step on it, your body weight and pushes the snow down. I mean, it does help in that as well, but it's mainly good for the like a thin layer of snow that just hasn't been pushed off to the sides or anything like that. Not so good in the ice, I'll say that too. So really just for the snow. So for fuel, I use 2 types of fuel: goo or gel and chewing blocks. And the goo I use during the summer, as well as the chewing blocks. But the problem I found out with goo or using gel products is that it freezes. And when you're running, the last thing you want is your fuel source to freeze up on you and you try to get to it and it's all frozen. You can't really use it unless you hold it in your hand for a while. But even then, sometimes that doesn't work. But the chewing blocks, which is what I've moved to, for the most part, they will get hard just like the gel, but the cool thing is because you're chewing it and eating it, it gets softer quicker in your mouth. So I will go with chewing blocks during the winter time. I'll still use the gel if I want to have a jolt of energy before I go for my run, but in the winter, I'm using the blocks. For water, I used to use a belt that had these plastic squirt bottles. Unfortunately, those end up freezing in the winter and you can't use your water. So instead, I went out and bought me one of these, which is like a backpack, and it holds a bladder that you fill it up with water. And what's nice about this is this backpack protects the bladder from the air, and not only that, but because this rests on your back, it generates some heat, which gives the bladder some more heating, so it never ends up freezing. However, what is important is to make sure that this does not freeze, because it does freeze being out and exposed in the air. So what I end up doing is taking more sips throughout my run, rather than in the summer I will simulate my transition stops, and that's when I'll take my water. But in the winter, I just continuously take sips to make sure that the water continually flows through this so it does not freeze on me. If you do buy one of these, also make sure that you look for one with a pocket. I unfortunately did not do that. So when I'm using my chews, I have nowhere to store my plastic unless I have a pocket with me. So get ones with pockets, and this will definitely work better in the in the winter than the belt ones that you may have. So that's it. That's all the tools you'll need in order to run a successful winter season. If you know of any other tools that I may have missed, please leave a comment below. And be ready for the next episode where we'll be talking about running up and down hills in the snow. And until then, happy running.